To the North Coast River Authority Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, December 14th, 2016. Our first item is the roll call. Recording Secretary.
Director Hemphill?
Here.
Director McCowan?
Here.
Director Kelly?
Yeah.
Director Marks?
Here.
Director Wagner?
Here.
Director Stroh? Director Madrigal? Chair Peters?
Here. Seeing no further comment, we'll go to our regular agenda. Item E, presentation. Jonathan Casson for NWP code.
Is this all right if I just stand here, or should I come up?
That's fine.
Will
Will the mic pick it up?
do that. Okay, so
The mic pick it up from here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jonathan Catherine on behalf of NWP. Just a little bit of background. We realized a few years ago that we had this, Jake noticed that we had this track that was torn out across the street from our headquarters, across the East 8th Street in Sonoma. And we approached the property owner, and with Chris's help and a lot of sort of back and forth, realized that we could put this track back in. And so again, this is the southern end of the town of Sonoma. And at that time, a developer was interested in buying the property, and so they approached us about putting a facility in there that could handle the rail. And so we came to you with a proposal about working with them to give them some rights to the property. And so that had sort of stalled over the last year or so. That conversation, it looks like most of the tenants that they've been in conversation with probably won't use rail, and so we've used this as a maybe I can.
How much land are you talking about? I mean, that's just
I have to look. It's a little less
sliver
than 10
or
acres.
acre?
7 or 8 acres. And so they decided that they were unlikely to use rail, and we insisted that they did use rail. So we're sort of at a point in the conversation with them that will allow them to cross the tracks, but the concept of sort of the bigger picture is less likely to happen. So recently we were introduced to the Golden Gate Rail Museum, and we learned that they have been in Niles Canyon, and that their relationship there is coming to an end. That I don't know exactly the details, but a lease of sorts for a beautiful steam locomotive and a number of cars, historic, well-maintained rail cars, and an enthusiastic group of supporters. And it sort of seemed like the perfect picture for an excursion service. And so while they were coming to an end in Niles Canyon relatively quickly, they've been in conversations elsewhere, but we realized that we had an opportunity to bring them here to Sonoma County. And that parcel hadn't been used. We sort of looked across the entire map. We looked even up towards Hillsburg, considering what the repairs would be up that way. And when we realized that things weren't really moving forward with what I call the Derringer property, because he formerly owned it, that we could consider that as a location to at least store the equipment, the locomotive and the cars. So with time running out in Niles Canyon, we decided that rather than come to a full comprehensive agreement that took into account how an excursion train would operate, what sort of museum service we might include, we decided what we'd do is we'd come up with a shorter term lease agreement, get them to us, and then from there we'll work out all the details. So really, you know, today the point of my presentation is just to let you know that this is going on. We haven't signed the agreement yet, so I'm not going to get into too much detail on it. We're looking at 2 years basically to get them situated long enough to make it worth the cost of getting the equipment to us, but sort of what we thought was a sweet spot for an amount of time to come up with a larger agreement. It acknowledges all the things that are in place, such as possibly having the access to that property that's now going to be used as a warehouse facility. it acknowledges Tom and Phil and their equipment and the sort of the team effort of bringing a lot of people into the possible excursion at the museum service. So it's sort of a baby step. I'm happy to see that there's a lot of interest in it here today. I don't want to get in, like I said, into too much detail until it's finalized, but we think in the next few weeks we should have something that sort of gets us up on our feet, looking towards the future.
Very interesting. And I have a whole list of questions, but I'll defer to the boards.
Just, I'm a little unclear. A lot of that track's been removed. Approximately how many miles of track would you have to lay together?
We put it back in.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm unaware.
Jake put it back in, I think it was a year ago,
Okay.
and then we've used it a little bit. We had hoped to actually serve Sonoma Pacific, the pallet company, at the end, and that didn't end up, getting the use we had expected. And then, of course, there was the possibility of the warehouse actually coming up to the track, and we would load directly into the warehouse.
Because this is the spur that goes into Sonoma Pacific. It's not the line that went up to Sonoma.
No, Tom and Phil have their cars parked out there, and have a couple cars there. So, again, this is not excluding anybody from the whole thing. It's a
North of your facility at Shellville.
I think it's west, but it depends on how the map is turned. It's across. Is it north?
Yeah.
Across east.
It's up
East
H
Street.
But this is all the cars there, the Canadian Pacific, the stainless steel cars, the freight cars.
Are those your cars? I'm not sure with those cars.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
So our
You got more than two there.
no. Well, some of them are ours, some of them aren't. Some of them belong to.
There's about 15 or 20.
No, there's probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another about 10 cars in the house. A couple locomotives, a couple engines. They took some out the other day.
And that's your,
So the spur we're talking about curves out of our facility and crosses 8th Street. So we go this way. It might be north, but it goes across 8th
We go
East
west.
Street.
You're correct.
West.
That part would go west.
And it's, I want to say about 8 acres, but I'm not exactly sure. Can I take it? Yeah. Go ahead.
Is there any known or potential environmental issues?
No.
any other questions from the board? Other questions from the board? Thank you very much, very interesting.
You're welcome. I'll keep you up to date.
Very good.